And so the book of Genesis was a compendium of tablets. This is the theory, this is the speculation, that each section is very logically laid out. For instance, certain key phrases were used to link one or two or three tablets together in regard to the same story. Well, why did they do this? Because the early authors couldn't fit the entire story on one tablet. And so at the top of each tablet, they would use the same phrase so that they knew those tablets would go together. This is the line of logic, the line of reasoning. But it's a brilliant article. I suggest you all go read it. But in regard to the word El, obviously it's a generic term for the word God. We're not just looking at the Canaanites here who used the word El, but we're looking at the entire known world at that time using this term El, in the use of all of their religious literature, their language, their ritual. El is seen as a generic term for God. Now, in the Canaanite literature, there is a supreme God that goes by the name El, and so the speculation is that this El is the same as El Shaddai. Now, where does this come from? Well, there's an Akkadian, or if you want to say Assyrian word, Shadu, which means mountain or God of the mountain. There's a speculation that why this is where this word Shaddai is coming from. But in actuality, we don't really know what the name El Shaddai means. And I'm going to put in the description all of the variations of, the speculations that we're thinking, what does Shaddai mean? Because some people would say that it means breast, or God who is breasted, pointing to like some sort of a fertility god. Another article I read is not breast, but actually udder, in reference to cows or livestock, God of the udder. So we have three different conjectures right away: mountain, udder, breast. We can see that the most recent rendering is Almighty, or Lord Almighty, God Almighty. But what makes sense to me is by looking through all of these different conjectures, possibilities of what El Shaddai actually means, it would make sense that it has to do with sufficiency. God who is all sufficient, He is sufficient enough. This is another conjecture. But the point being that it is a conjecture. It is all a speculation. Is that a word in the Canaanite literature? We don't know. Shaddai, Shadu, but the point really is this: is that the Canaanite gods were orgiastic, corrupted, divine beings that had nothing in common with the Israelite notion of God. So the fact that they use the term El as in Elyon, El Shaddai. They're using it in a generic reference to the word God. It's like saying that one person's idea of God is the same as another person's idea of God. We don't go around telling everybody, you know, because you're using the word God that you understand God the way I understand God. Obviously, when Abraham came out of Ur of the Chaldees, he had an understanding of the word God, El, but it is God who reveals himself to Abraham. And therein we see the beginnings of God Most High revealing himself to Abraham, Jacob, and Israel. So I say all this just to make a point. One man's speculations is another man's belief or fact. You know, we can speculate. I speculate amongst everything I do is speculation, but I admit it. But are the higher critics willing to admit that they are speculating and that they have a faith in their speculations just like I do? And that's what it's really about, folks. You can just speculate all you want all day long about all this higher criticism and plurality of gods and this council of gods, supposedly. I get into this in my other video on the sons of God and our notion of angels. And so whenever you see a reference to the sons of God, we're looking at this notion of angelic beings. And anyway,